Congressman Jim Jordan from Ohio's 4th Congressional District, also the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, joins us now. Congressman Jordan, thanks for being with us today.
You bet. Good to be with you, Jordan.
Let me ask you right off the bat. You know, we followed this on our broadcast and at ACLJ when Attorney General Garland testified to the committee you serve on that, you know, he can't imagine that parents were being treated this way, or that the terrorism division at the Department of Justice was involved. And then a letter from a whistleblower is released, and that letter is the exact opposite of that. It says it's actually signed by the assistant director at the DOJ on counterterrorism and the assistant director of the criminal division. We started learning about tags, which I know is like a flashback for us to the ACLJ when it comes to those BOLO lists from the IRS and fighting back this targeting of American citizens, just trying to, again, engage the process. We always tell people, Congressman Jordan, the place to start is usually the school boards. I mean, that's the place to start in your communities. But let me ask you this first. You sent a letter to the FBI director and to Attorney General Garland. What else? Have they responded yet? And have you gotten any sense of when they'll respond?
No, they haven't responded, but they need to, because as you point out, Jordan, Merrick Garland testified in front of us and said, we were not in any way treating parents as domestic terrorists. There was just one problem with that statement. One day before that, there was an email sent from the counterterrorism division of the FBI to special agents in charge, FBI agents around the country, saying just the opposite, saying put a label, put a tag, put this terrorist tag, this threat tag on parents. So Merrick Garland needs to come back in front of us. And I tell you, the first question I would ask him is, what's the number? How many parents now have this label, this tag associated with their name? How many? What's the number? And so, we need to talk to these guys, because they got caught going after moms and dads for simply standing up and saying, we don't want this CRT, this racist hate America curriculum taught to our kids.
This was like when we were fighting the IRS. It was when we got on that BOLO list finally, and you realized the amount of people that were being caught up in it. It was just outrageous. But when we look at this, I mean, it takes it even a step further, because these are just individual parents. They're not organized in any kind of way, showing up at a meeting that they're welcome to be at. And if there are real problems, you know, local law enforcement can handle that. I mean, that's like common sense. If you're a bad actor there, and you're making real threats, or you're causing or violence or disruptive, not following the rules, there's people there to handle that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the parents who just might be a little upset and might be in disagreement. But so at this point, Congressman Jordan, as a member of Congress, chairs this committee, or as the ranking member on that committee, you don't know yet. We don't know yet how many parents have received that tag.
We don't know. What we do know is it needs to stop. Understand the organization that was the catalyst for this, the National School Board Association, sent their letter on September 29th to President Biden asking for this to happen. And then, of course, 5 days later, Merrick Garland does his memorandum to the U.S. attorneys around the country, all 94 U.S. attorneys districts, implementing exactly what the School Board Association asked for. Understand, they've apologized. I mean, I've never seen this. You've been around politics, Jordan. When have you ever seen a left-wing political organization,
Never.
One day after the Attorney General speaks, apologize for the statements that they made in their letter that became the catalyst for this whole charade, this whole crazy process that they're undergoing? I've never seen that happen. So let's hope it all ends and that the Justice Department will stop doing this. That's what our goal is, and we're going to keep after it until it happens.
What do you think? If they came to you and said, you know, hey, we're sorry, would you trust them on that, or do you think it needs to be more than an apology? I mean, we need some more info here, because they opened this door up by denying it and saying he couldn't even imagine this being the case, and then there it is. The lead of counterterrorism is sending this letter around the Department of Justice and the FBI.
I actually think it's worse, Jordan. I don't think that the letter was actually what started it. I think the letter was just the pretext for the FBI, for the Justice Department and the Biden administration to do what they wanted to do. Because we now know that before that letter on September 29, we know that the School Boards Association was in communication with the White House for 3 weeks prior to that letter being sent. So I think actually the letter was just the excuse, just the pretext for the Justice Department and for the Biden administration to go after parents, because they didn't like parents speaking out against this left-wing curriculum that they want taught across the country. So I view this letter almost like the dossier in the Trump-Russia. The FBI knew the dossier was bogus, but they needed something to do what they wanted to do, which was spy on President Trump's campaign. Same thing here. This school board's letter was just something that the Biden administration needed to give them the excuse to go after moms and dads, and that's what they did. That's what makes this so wrong. Even more wrong than we initially thought, and why it has to end.
And very similar to that Tea Party situation, because I read in the whistleblower release that came out from the Criminal Investigation Division, the Counterterrorism Division of the FBI, they did the same thing that Lois Lerner was working on with the FBI and DOJ, which is there a federal nexus to somehow we can, and that goes to, is there federal violations? Can we investigate? Can we charge someone? What's the motivation behind the criminal activity? It's all about, ultimately, Congressman Jordan, it's about silencing. They want to find one person they can file a criminal charge against. If they can do that, they think other parents will stay away and keep silent.
Yep, it was all about chilling the speech of moms and dads. But here's the good news. It backfired.
Yep.
Instead of chilling speech, what it did is fired parents up. I've said many times, no bureaucrat, no lobbyist, no one will ever beat a mom on a mission. And what they did is they fired up moms and dads around this country. We saw it display itself in the election of Glenn Youngkin as the next governor of Virginia. We're seeing it play out across the country. Courage is contagious. And what they did is they just fired up parents, and parents says, nope, I don't care what you do. You're not stopping me from doing what I think is best for my son or my daughter. And that's exactly what we see on display. So this all backfired on them. So much so that the School Board Association actually, as I said, apologized for the initial letter that kind of was the pretext for the FBI doing what they're doing.
This should be like a massive red flag. I know it is to our audience, but to the American people, because if the Biden administration can label these parents as domestic terrorists for showing up and actually engaging civic duty when they feel like their students aren't being taught the right thing, or just speaking out about curriculum and those kind of issues, trying to protect their children. I mean, if you can start labeling people as terrorists for that, you can start labeling any kind of grassroots activist they disagree with.
Yeah. But that's the way it is today with the left. Today's left doesn't believe in the First Amendment. I mean, it used to be that you could have a real debate, and the liberals would say, "Oh, they believe their stuff. We conservatives believe it." We'd have a debate and see who wins the vote, and you move on to the next issue. Not today. If you don't agree with the left today, you're not allowed to talk. And if you try to talk, if you try to speak, they're going to call you a racist. They're going to call you names, and they're going to try to cancel you. And that's exactly what the administration tried to do. They tried to call parents names. They tried to cancel parents, and parents says, "We're not having it. We're going to do what's best for our kids." And like I said, it completely backfired on them, as was evidenced by the Virginia election.
Congressman Jordan, you've got a new book out tomorrow. Do What You Said You Would Do, Fighting for Freedom in the Swamp. Tell people about the book and what they'll learn in it.
Comes out tomorrow. I wrote every word of this. I told somebody the other day, I'm the old-fashioned way. I wrote it all out longhand on the yellow legal pad. But it takes them behind the scenes. Your listeners will get a chance to get behind the scenes, see how Congress operates. All the big investigations I've had the privilege of working on, the IRS one that we were talking about, the Benghazi Select Committee, and, of course, the impeachment. And then I really try to give them a flavor of the interactions I had the privilege of having with President Trump, who, more than any official, Jordan, more than any president in our lifetime, did what he said he would do. And so I think your listeners will enjoy it. It's a quick read, 250 pages. But they'll get a kind of a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like in Congress, and particularly with the Freedom Caucus. I write a lot about how we started that group and how our mission is to do what we told the American people we were going to do and fight for them.
Let me tell you something, folks. If you were going to buy a book about getting inside Congress, these battles and conservative battles inside, there's no better author than someone like Congressman Jim Jordan to be putting this book out for you. Do What You Said You Would Do, Fighting for Freedom in the Swamp. You're doing that, Congressman Jordan, and we thank you not just on behalf of the constituents you represent in Ohio, but all of us, because you fight the battles that so many of our listeners and our supporters care about. The ACLJ, we've worked together before when we can, and I appreciate you coming on today, and good luck with the book.